Welcome, and in this vodcast we're going to take a look at the topic of empiricism. So I want to make this kind of short and sweet. How do we understand what empiricism is? And why does the text bring it up? So the first thing is, the text brings up empiricism because what they're trying to figure out is, how does psychology become a science? Alright? So how does psychology become a science? We know that psychology has its roots in philosophy, which is not considered a science, right? So how does psychology emerge as its own separate entity, and how does it come to be considered a science? It comes to be considered a science by embracing what's called empiricism. So what is empiricism? How do we even start thinking about this? You saw the definition in your textbook, by the way. But I want you to think about how we produce knowledge. How is knowledge produced? That's the question that guides empiricism. It's about knowledge production, right? And it's about, are there better ways to produce knowledge than, say, other ways? Is A a better way of producing knowledge than B, whatever A and B may represent? So the claim is, yes, there are better ways to produce knowledge. And empiricism actually begins within philosophy. There's a group of philosophers called empiricists, and this is what they believe. Now, it's more complex in reality than this. We're just giving you the basics. But that knowledge is produced by sensory experience and observation. Now, next to observation, you should put systematic observation. Empiricism has its roots in people like Aristotle, because Plato did not believe in empiricism. Aristotle did, right? Descartes did not believe in empiricism. Other people who also saw empiricism as the more advantageous way of producing knowledge were Francis Bacon and John Locke. John Locke is considered a British empiricist who came up with the term tabula rasa, which is Latin for blank slate, meaning we aren't born with knowledge. And saying that, he's taking aim at people like Plato, who believed that we were born with knowledge, our innate structures that allowed us to learn more easily and remember, so to speak. Whereas Locke believes that we're born a blank slate, experience works upon us. Now you can see why this idea would be very, very favored by people like the behaviorists, right? Now, empiricism, the other important part is that empiricism, basically this system for the best way to produce knowledge, it gives rise to what's called a scientific method and a scientific outlook, because it leads to this. Okay? So it is not the same exact thing as a scientific outlook. What I would say is that it is the foundation. If you think of science here, part of the foundation, not the only foundation, is empiricism. Okay? It's part of the foundation of science. Alright? It helps science develop.